All right, I am recording. We're going to go about 10 seconds.
Okay.
I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to let you start things off today.
I don't know how.
You got to figure it out. All right, Beth, why don't you start us off today?
Hey, everybody. This is Beth.
And Mike.
And we're excited to have you join us for Hey, Are You Still There?
That was the most robotic opening I have ever heard. They're going to think you're AI.
I'm not made to do the opening because I don't even know what we're talking about. Again, in case anybody wonders if this is scripted or edited, absolutely not. I literally have no idea what we're going to discuss today.
Okay, well, I threw you a curveball by having you start off things.
Yes, and you said I did a poor job, so that didn't go
I'm just
so
saying,
well.
you wasn't your best.
Yes.
But first time, but you're used to curveballs.
Yes.
Yesterday, you had a curveball thrown at you.
Ugh, yes.
Let's talk about that. So let's go back to how this whole podcast started. The Big 12.
Yes.
Over the next year.
Yes.
One of the things that you had in your Big 12 was, did you actually have skiing or snowboarding or something?
I wanted to do, one of my friends this summer, I was asking people for ideas, and this is one of my Salem girlfriends at one of our 50th reunions. People were naming a lot of things, and I was like, yeah, I've already done that. And she's from up north, like Boston, and has a home in Maine and things. And so she had said, well, what about doing some sort of winter sports or winter outdoor activity? So originally I thought that I might snowboard because that's what Jacob and Maria know how to do, but it's much harder. And also Joshua was going to come and he said he would rather try skiing. I've only skied maybe one or two times in my life, maybe only one. I don't know, not much.
Going way back 25 years, 30 years ago when we were youth pastors.
Yeah.
We would take the youth group once a winter to Winter Place up in West Virginia, and you've been skiing a few times.
But I'm sure some of those I probably missed because of law school and things. So I mean, it hasn't been much. Let's just say that. The only thing I remember is I think they call it the snow plow. I just remember that's how you slow down is by pointing your toes together. And I wanted to avoid anything that's ice skating where I don't know how to stop. So once I get going, I can't stop except by holding my arms out and running into something.
Or someone.
Oh, yeah, or someone. So I was hoping, this was going to be a really cool thing because we've been helping Jacob with some moving and things he needed to do in Boone. So I was already there. It was going to be perfect. We were going to go to one of the places that he likes to go. Maria drove up. So it was going to be... it was really going to accomplish a lot of things.
So 4 of the 5 G's were there.
Yes.
And where was I?
At home.
And why was I at home?
I don't know exactly. I mean, because of the dog being injured? Is that what, or you just,
no,
you also...
because I didn't want to be injured.
Well, that's what I was...
This had disaster written all over
Well, you said that, but I didn't know if you were joking. But yeah, you said that you didn't want to be injured at this stage in your life, and yeah.
I'm an old man. I lost nothing on top of that mountain.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you were the only one that you were basically, I'm not going because I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The power of no.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to though, so do you want me to tell what happened?
I wouldn't have brought it up if I didn't.
Well, this is a story of disappointment and sadness. So we had strategically planned to go, no one knows exactly when we're doing this, but we were going to try to go on January 2nd because we thought it would be less crowded than January 1st. And I had followed Jacob because once I bought the tickets and everything, he had said he might stay later than us because we had to drive home and I was working today and things like that. So anyway, as soon as we pulled in, they told us to go all the way to the back. And when I say to the back, they have row 1, 2, 3, 4. So we were all the way to row 14, which is not only the back, it's I guess where there's no more parking spaces and you'd just back off the side of a mountain or something, because a guy they were trying to squeeze us in and they were back in beside the car in front of you and just leave 2.5 inches or something crazy. So we could barely squeeze out of our cars because the parking lot was already jam-packed. And to make matters worse, Josh had worn really new shoes, and I didn't know that it would be so muddy there because we didn't think it would be. So then Jacob had to put on like his new ski boots so Josh could wear his shoes in. And it was just a long fiasco.
Well, this explains a lot because I got in my car today. You had driven my car.
Yeah.
And I've not driven it since
Uh-huh.
you guys have come back. And I got in the car today and it was covered in mud inside. Yes. And I'm like, what in the world? And I had to go wash the car and vacuum all the mud out.
Well, there was actually ice there. And so we were standing in the ice kind of, but then it broke through and got muddy as we were standing and people were pulling over it. So we decided we needed to go ahead and put on our snow bibs and everything like that. So it was going to be really cold. So we're wearing like 14 layers of clothes. And I had not worn snow bibs in a while. And so the ones I had, the zipper was broken. And it was just this whole fiasco of like just even trying to get ready. And as we were walking in, Jacob's like, man, I've never seen this place this crowded. This is the most crowded I've ever seen it. Now, he's a poor college student. So most of the time he does like the 5 p.m. to close skiing, snowboarding, so maybe that has something to do with it. But we were like, okay. So we go inside, and when we go in, he shows us, we go to the bathroom or whatever, and then he shows us where to get a locker and how to get a locker. So we do that. Well, then we start walking. He's like, well, we got to go up here and get the gear you've rented because Jacob has his own stuff, but we didn't. And he was like, wait a minute, you need to keep going. And I was like, this is the line. And the line just to get our boots for skiing was like, I don't know, I can't estimate people, but all the way down the hall past all of the lockers. And Jacob was like, what in the world? So he decided he would go with Maria to go get the snowboard stuff because that was in a different section. So Josh and I waited and waited and waited for over an hour. And we finally...
It's like you're back at Disney World.
It was. It was about that crowded. It felt like that. Except they didn't have signs up or an app to tell you how long your wait was. So about an hour and something later, we got our boots. And you got to remember too, we're standing, it's inside, it's a million people in line in front of us. We're right on this hall with all these lockers, people changing, people coming in and out. Also, we're getting hot because we've got on all these layers of clothes. So Jacob...
I want to pause you right there. Mm-hmm. So... You called me at one point, and you're like, I'm really worried about Josh. And I was like, why? And you're like, he doesn't want to ski. He says this is making him physically sick.
Yes.
You painted this picture like Josh was having anxiety about skiing, and it was making him sick. I thought
he was.
So today I asked Josh. We were riding in the car. I said, Josh, man, why were you having so much anxiety about skiing? He was like, I wasn't having any anxiety about skiing. I'm like, well, Mom said you were physically sick. He was like, yeah, because there was 1,000 people in this room and I couldn't breathe and it was hot and I had on all these clothes and it was making me sick. Yeah.
But we didn't communicate that. I didn't know that. We also had very little to no cell signal and we tried to get on the Wi-Fi. The reason that matters is because Jacob and Maria came back and she already had all of her stuff and he's like, would you mind if we go ahead and do one slope or whatever? And I'm like, fine, whatever, because goodness knows this isn't happening any faster for us. But it was very difficult to text people or to get in contact. So Jacob tells us where to go get in line for the skis. And at this point, we've gone back and put our stuff in the locker to make sure we know how to do it. We're probably at least an hour and 10 minutes in, right? So we get in line for the skis and literally just stand there. Well, now I know, I heard somebody say, well, at one point we're all standing there and we're not moving, like at all. Like just we're at a complete standstill. And it is another very long line. And they have you line up by height. So Josh and I were waiting in our line. And I hear this lady yelling something like, blah, 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 blah. That's like, I don't hear anything. And I'm like, what is she saying? And Josh is like, I don't know. I think now she was telling us that their computer system was down or something. So at one point, Josh had messed up his little card. You have to use this card to scan in and out. So I told Josh, I said, hold my place in line. Let me go in and talk to this guy. So when I went in, I was like, is there any chance we can get ski lessons? Because also we tried to look online. And the next ski lesson they had was at 6:30 at night. And he was like, no. And I said, I had no idea you'd be this crowded today. And he said, neither did we. So they weren't staffed or ready for the number of people they had. And we think they may have even been running out of skis and stuff. So I don't know if the computer was down or whatever, but like the shelves were bare and there was nobody. Like, and so by the time I got back out from talking to him, so I was like, this isn't just us that's surprised by the crowd, it's everybody. Josh still hasn't moved in line. So at this point, I'm just like, this is insane. And Josh and I look at each other, and Josh is like, we have been waiting for 2 hours and we still don't even have skis. And the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't know that this makes any sense, because even by the time, about where we were in line, I would say we would have probably waited another 45 minutes. So by the time we even got our skis, we would have had 3 hours invested in, that's not even counting the time to park and all that, but just waiting in line. And my concern was, not only would we not have anybody telling us what to do, but if it's that packed, I don't know how we were going to have any space to do anything. So I texted Jacob and Maria, and I was like, I think Josh and I are just going to leave. And I was like, we haven't moved at all online. And Jacob's like, oh, yeah, sure. I'm sure you probably have. And I was like, no, we have not moved at all. So I went in, and he's like, I don't think they'll refund you. And I was like, oh, they will, because that guy told me, because it was so crowded, he's like, I'll just give you your money back, because he's like, you haven't even used equipment.
You were going to go full Karen on them.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, I've seen you do that.
I wasn't going to. At this point, I was just so
Did you say,
tired.
do you know who I am?
No, I did not. Anyway, they refunded our stuff. But then Jacob and Maria got to stay and have a glorious time together. And
that's good.
I know, I'm glad that they had that time. But it was just really disappointing, because for me, it's like, okay, I took this day off work. I took this time to drive. You know, it's not like, I mean, it wasn't like a super long drive, but it's not like short. You know, took the time to drive. And, you know, when you get excited about something, and I was excited about a lot of it. I was excited about doing this winter thing. And then also, Josh sometimes is not as willing to do things if he doesn't know. Like, I remember with riding a bike, he didn't just hop on a bike and know how to ride it. So then he's like, oh, I quit. I don't like riding a bike. You know, it's hard to get him to, like, I'd really talked him up with, like, okay, you're just going to have grit. This is one of those things. You're not going to just stand up on skis and be able to ski. We're just going to have fun. Just go out here with me. We're going to do this. You're not going to be perfect at it. We're both going to fall. It'll be fine. So I feel like I also psyched him up and psyched myself up, you know, for him. So this was also, it was about me wanting to do this outdoor thing, but also just doing something totally different. And it's harder and harder as your kids get older to do things and to find things that you all enjoy. And so what I've had to do a lot with our kids is I just learn to enjoy the things that they enjoy so that I can spend time with them, because we've talked about my love language is quality time. And I've done that with you, like disc golf or I mean, and I eventually sometimes love some of these things.
I just thought you loved spending time with me and you didn't care.
Well, no, but I'm just...
You didn't like disc golf? You're a championship disc golfer.
Well, that I am. We'll talk about that
there.
another time. Yes, I am really talented. But I mean, but there've been lots of things we've tried, like golf, or I don't know, like even when I first started the board gaming and stuff, I mean, that grew on me and I liked it. But there are lots of things that I know this is going to be blasphemy, and I hope it will never cause Maria to be fired, but the Disney, I am not a huge Disney person because it's so hot and the lines are so long. I mean, there are parts I like about it. I do like some of the magic, but it's every time I go, I'm like, I could be in Europe right now for what it costs to be here. And so, but I do that because that's something she loves, and that's something I can do with her. And so I think I was especially excited about this because Josh and I would be doing something together, like a new experience. Because if it's been 25 years, it's practically new for me. And then also it was going to be something I'd hoped to connect with Jacob and get to do and enjoy together. So anyway, long story, I made a very short story even longer, but it was just a day that was kind of full of like disappointment because then I had the long ride home. So basically it was like...
You were angry.
No, I was sad.
You came home angry.
No, I was sad. I'd already cried some on the way home. Just because, again, I mean, I don't know. And I think a lot of people would be like, oh, well, that's a stupid reason to be that upset or whatever. But it's also because I look and I have limited time. This was one of the only times that was going to work for everybody because if Josh is out of school, Jacob and Maria aren't out of school. We have to do it in the winter, when there's snow on the ground. So it can't be something like, oh, we'll go in June when everybody's out for the summer. So it was just, for me, I set up expectations, I think, around things and get excited about them. And that's one of the things I do. I just look forward to things. And so it was just a lot of disappointment, but not just because we couldn't do it. It probably wouldn't have been so bad if I was like, oh, I'm just staying the night, and I'll go tomorrow. It wouldn't have been as big a deal. If you're at the beach for a week and it rains a day, you get over it. But this was more this is, I don't know when I'll be able to orchestrate something like this to happen again for all four of us. Could be 5 if you decide to go next time.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it.
So we're not injured because
but I felt like I was there.
Oh, I know, because we texted you a lot. And you probably also got a lot of text out of order, because I could see that I was texting you, and then it didn't go through, and I was like, he is not going to know what is going on. It was yeah.
I mean, I almost at one point texted you guys and said, can y'all just handle this offline? Why is this being discussed in our family chat?
Yeah. Well, it was because we wanted you to be there, and we thought you were there in spirit, enjoying it with us.
Between all the texts, your phone calls, it's like I was there.
Nobody wanted to start
a brand new. Have been there.
Okay, no one wants to start a brand new chat just because you were afraid you would get injured and wouldn't come up there. The family chat makes the most sense. No one wants to type in all of our names and phone numbers.
Heaven forbid, the 4 of you.
Yeah, I mean, that would take.
Why don't you just?
It's kind of like my Beth, etc. gift,
Why don't you just delete me from the family chat altogether?
No.
That's what I would like.
You need
Because I rarely text the whole family.
I do a lot.
You do a lot, even when it's for one person.
Yeah. Well,
why?
Because they don't read individual texts.
And they don't read all those because it's so many.
Yeah, but then I'll be or sometimes if you text everybody, then that'll make the other kids chime in to make that one kid that hasn't. I don't know. They're just more likely, I think, to pay attention to that.
If I text them individually, I have a better response rate.
I think it's 50-50 on that. It depends on what they're doing and if I get them at the right time.
I also just text them the most basic one question I can. You kind of go into lawyer mode and ask them, put them on the stand and ask them 30 questions at once.
I wouldn't say I ask 30 questions, but usually what has happened is I'm curious and I have a lot of questions saved up. And so I might be like, hey, Jacob, is it snowing up there? How's your room? Is your room staying warm? Even though it's so cold, how's your new bed working out? Do you need any different sheets? I mean, there's just so many things I want to know. So,
but you ask that all in one text. And then you're like, why didn't he respond?
But this is one of those things we've talked about. And then sometimes they'll say yes or whatever. And I'm like, yes to which part? But I don't like it when the kids are like, Mom, new text. Hey, new text. Mom. And my phone's like, notification. Like every word is a new line. To me, it just makes sense to have the little paragraph. Just do it all at once, in the little paragraph.
Maybe that should be our poll question. When you text your family,
yes.
Do you text a dissertation or
not a dissertation, but do you text it might be a few lines long, enough that you're going to have a blue blob on the screen.
Okay, it's enough you have to scroll.
Okay, not always.
Yes,
we won't say no.
Yes,
wait a minute.
Is.
Even if I looked, it is not.
It is enough.
Look at some of this, like in the family text,
y'all can't see this.
I'm just saying, hey, is Maria coming home and eating dinner? And she said yes and no to dinner. See, super short. Look at these. Just they're not that long. These are now that one.
Whose is that?
That's a little different. But that. All
right, that's fine, Beth.
I know,
fine.
But that could be the.
But we do want to know
that.
Y'all can answer that question when you text family, friends, your group chat, whatever. Are you a lengthy texter, as in a bunch of questions, sentences that takes, longer than 1 second to read, or do you just fire off one bubble?
Because here's an example. So, this is a great example that really happened in the family chat. So when we were meeting, Jacob said, "Where do you want to eat?" That was one text. The next text, "I'll meet you." The next text, he lists 3 different places. So, he did all that in 3 separate texts. I would have just said, Where do you want to meet? I can meet you. And then I would have listed the 3 places all in one bubble. So I think that's the example. We need to be very clear because I'm afraid the poll will be skewed and not accurate.
Let me be more clear.
Okay.
You would have used text to talk.
Well, yes, I do that all the time.
And Siri doesn't understand your dialect.
That's true.
And
Siri doesn't
2/3
speak
of
Southern.
the words are wrong.
And then I say, forgive the typos. This is voice to text. I say that afterwards. Okay, but let's not go there. We don't need to go there.
Well, yeah,
Your
I'm
poll
just saying.
question, I'm just saying, I just laid it out for the poll question. Are you doing 1 or 2 individual lines? Like if you have something that's going to be 4 lines long, are you doing each of those like individually as sentences, or are you going to put them all in one blob, one blue box if you have an apple, or green if it's
green if you're an Android. Android users, losers. Yeah.
You just alienated another huge portion of our audience.
I doubt it.
I used to be an Android user.
Yeah, and you got saved.
I mean, well, the thing is with Androids, I liked it, but Apple is just so much easier for us to share things as a family. Like, that's what made sense. That was what swayed us over to Apple.
What about those Google Pixel people?
I do think the Google Pixel supposedly does better pictures, but we're not going to get...
camera.
Who wants to carry a camera?
I had a couple of things I did with the kids that I'll talk about.
Okay.
I took Josh to see Hamilton.
Yes.
I counted up. I noticed a few weeks ago we went and saw Elf or something, and I talked about that. How many shows I'd seen or something. I did go back and count. Was it 42 Broadway shows? I think I've seen.
You need to make it to 50 this year.
This year, I should.
Yes.
And Hamilton, it was one of those. And I have a very precise grading scale for my Broadway shows. Mm-hmm. So I do a 5-star system. And 5-star is I loved it. I will see it every time I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Wicked is an example.
Wicked is number 1.
It never gets old.
No. Wicked is my number 1 all-time favorite. I've seen it 5 times. Mm-hmm. I'll see it 6 next time it comes around. Then I have 4 stars, which is I really liked it. And if it came around, I might go.
If it's easy to get there.
I would see this
again.
again.
Season tickets
I would see
or
this
something.
again.
Yeah.
3-star was, okay, that was all right. I wouldn't pay to see it again, but it was worth seeing once.
It. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
2 stars is, that really wasn't that good.
Yeah.
You know? And 1 star is, I'm dumber for having watched this.
Yes, like you can't get those hours of your life back kind of thing.
No. And so I have all of mine. And maybe I'll put this up on our Facebook page. Yeah. My all of them in totality. But I have them broke down.
I also need to put a disclaimer that this would not be the same rankings I have, but I also would not be able to rank mine because I don't even remember some of them.
That's why you got to rank them immediately.
I know.
You got to do it immediately.
Right.
You can't go back now.
I know. I can't.
And I've been doing this since day 1.
That's why it was smart that you did that. Yeah.
And so I have 6 5 stars.
Okay.
Out of the 40-some.
Wicked is 1.
Wicked is number 1. Hamilton was in my top 6.
Uh-huh.
And I really liked it the time you and I saw it.
Yeah.
But I loved it this time. I don't know, it's because the first time was, you're kind of overwhelmed. I mean, it's so good. Yeah. The music is so good. The dialogue and everything is just great. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot to take in at first. And so this time I was able to really pay attention more to the lyrics and the rap and everything and the characters more and the set. And Josh, I wanted to take him because he has a very unique taste in music, and he's all over the spectrum. He is our music kid.
To the point that at the local record store, they wanted to offer him a job because they were excited that he could speak so in such a knowledgeable way, and that he knew more than Taylor Swift. It was their words, not mine. I mean, because he just had such a broad base of music. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he loves rap. but very unique rap.
Yeah, not the mainstream.
Not mainstream. And so I knew he would like these guys.
Yeah.
Like, he would like, but Josh is not a musical guy. Like, he, as much as he likes music, he doesn't like musicals.
Right.
And so he reluctantly went. And he loved it. And, I mean, he really enjoyed it. He was like, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And so it was cool to go experience that with him.
Yeah.
Staying on the music theme, I'm a big Bob Dylan fan. I love Bob Dylan. I'm late to the Bob Dylan experience.
Yeah.
Growing up, I mean, and even like, I guess my first experience with Bob Dylan, I'm a huge Tom Petty fan. And he was in the Traveling Wilburys with Tom Petty and Roy Orbison and George Harrison. And it was like the first, maybe the biggest ever, like, super group ever. And so I listened to a little bit of Bob after that, and I was like, man, this guy really can't sing. He has a really unique voice.
He does have a unique voice.
And I'm just like, I don't know why is this guy so, like, beloved? And I just never really got into him until a few years ago, maybe in the last 5 to 7 years. And I was like, I'm going to give him a try. And he's brilliant. Like, he is brilliant. His songwriting is brilliant. And I've gotten to where I love his vocals. Like, I just love Bob Dylan. And so he's on my Mount Rushmore now. But this new movie came out.
Yes.
And it's his story of his life, which I didn't know how they were going to do. He's 83 years old.
Yeah.
He's had 55 albums. How are you going to put all of that into 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
And the guy that was playing Bob Dylan,
Timothy Chalamet.
Who,
I've been to his favorite bagel shop.
if
in
he
New York
walked up to me on the street,
Maria.
I wouldn't know who he was.
Yes.
But he's the hot actor right now.
Maria
I guess.
loves him.
So,
And he has been for a while one of her
Yes.
favorites. Yeah.
And so Maria was like, Dad, we got to go see the new Bob Dylan movie. And I didn't want to go see it. I mean, I did not think they could do Bob Dylan justice. And so it was one of those things. I was just like, I'll do it for her. You know, as much as I love Bob Dylan, I'll go sit through this crappy movie for her. So we sit there, and right before the movie starts, I was like, Maria, can you name 3 Bob Dylan songs? No. Can you name 2? No. Can you name 1 Bob Dylan song? I know a song, but I don't know its name.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, why are we here?
Because of Timothy Chalamet.
Because of Timothy Chalamet.
I know, yes.
She could care less about Bob Dylan. The movie was fantastic.
Which, as an aside, is so interesting because Josh did not want to go see the movie
For the same
because
reason.
he loves Bob Dylan, but insisted Timothy Chalamet would not be able to portray Bob Dylan.
I know. I felt the same way. And Timothy Chalamet should win an Oscar for this.
Oh, wow. I need to
He
see
is
it then.
that good. His mannerisms, his voice, everything is like Bob Dylan's on that screen. You forget that it's not Bob Dylan. And they don't do his whole life. They do his first 6 years. That's
the way we felt when we watched the movie about Queen, like the guy that played Freddie.
Bohemian Rhapsody,
I mean, he was amazing too. Like, he had him down the way he looked and the way he sounded and stuff.
And that's how Timothy Chalamet is right now with Bob Dylan. I mean, it's just perfect.
Yeah.
And so I come to find out that this movie is based on a book somebody wrote called, like, When Dylan Finds Electric, something like that. You know, Bob Dylan came up as this folk singer. He was this folk hero. And then he eventually evolved, and then he wanted to start playing electric guitar. And the folk people went crazy. And it leads all the way up to the moment when he played his first concert with an electric guitar. And people were throwing stuff at him. Like, it's insane. But
having not even seen that, though, how much is that like life? Like, we talk about this stuff all the time. I mean, not to, but like in ministry and stuff, you know, when people would like be like, no, we must have a traditional service or we must have a contemporary. I mean,
people
it's just so interesting.
change.
People do not enjoy change at all. Yeah.
And And the cool thing about this movie,
But he's an artist, and he should have the freedom to change if he wants to change.
well, and this is what, okay, I've never seen Bob in concert, and I've never wanted to, as much as I love him, because he doesn't play any of his hit songs.
Mm-hmm.
If you go look at any concert set list in the last 20 years, he ain't playing Blowing in the Wind. He's not playing Rolling Stone.
Right.
He ain't doing that. He intentionally, he plays whatever he wants to play.
Yeah.
And he might pick out 20 songs that are the most obscure Bob Dylan songs and he just plays them. He does not care what the audience wants to hear.
Right.
And which is fine. So I would be going just to see Bob in person and say, hey, I saw him before he died, kind of thing. But I'm not going to be going and like expecting to
hear a song, your favorite song.
Right. At least one.
Yeah, at least one of your favorite songs, yeah.
But in the movie, it plays that out. Like, he truly marches to the beat of a different drummer. His drum. Like, this is what I want to do. And the movie examines his relationship with Johnny Cash. And they were, not to give too much of the movie away, but they become pen pals.
Oh.
And they're writing letters to one another.
Okay.
And then they finally meet. And him and Johnny become good friends. And Johnny's an outlaw in country music. And
he had that really unique way of playing the guitar, too, where he, like, played it up on the, I don't know, I mean, he just had some...
Oh, he had it way up on him, and
yeah.
And this guy that plays Johnny Cash is killer. I mean, he's really good. But he eggs Bob on. And Bob really leans on Johnny as a mentor. And Johnny Cash is like, he told him multiple times. He said, go wipe your mud on somebody's carpet. Go cause trouble. Go do, like, you be you.
Yeah.
And I think really Bob needed that. I think he had those moments where he thought maybe I should just cave in and go against who I am. But Johnny was there to kind of like push him along and encourage him. But it was a fascinating movie. And coming home, Maria and I had a great talk. I said, why do you think he was so successful? And she's like, I don't know why he was so successful. And I was like, I think he was successful in his mind because he did what he wanted to do and he didn't care what other people thought. And I said, Maria, you're an artist. And that's what she wants to do. She wants to create art in some way, whether it's film or design or whatever. She's going to school for that. I was like, you're an artist. I said, you're going to get lots of people. They're going to tell you how you should be doing art. I said, him and Johnny Cash are two rarities that weren't happy doing what everyone else told them to do.
Yeah.
They knew who they were. They didn't care what anybody else thought. They were going to be true to themselves. And I was like, that's a good lesson for you as a person and as you as an artist, that when you get caught up in, well, what will other people think? It doesn't matter. And what did Maria do? She came down here tonight after dinner. She came down, we ate dinner together, and she started talking about that movie. And she's like, Dad, I can't get it out of my mind. She's like, I think it has changed me. Like, it has, like, altered my DNA, is how she put it.
Oh, gosh.
And she was like, I can't stop thinking about it. She was like, I want to go see it again. And there's something there that connects with her, And I think that's it. I think it's more than just Timothy Chalamet now, Because she was like, I just keep listening to Bob Dylan. She was like, I've been listening to him nonstop for 2 days. And I said, Bob or Timothy Chalamet singing Bob Dylan? And she was like, no, Bob Dylan. She was like, she was like, I can't get it out of my mind. She was like, it's changed my soul. And I hope it has, like, I think that's good for an artist to see another artist like that stand up to the man or the industry and say, you know what? You may hate me, but I'm going to do what I want to do.
See, that's such an interesting thing because I do wonder, and I admire it, and I wish I could have that freedom to not care and just do what I want. But I wonder with the way, like, quote, fame has changed due to social media, because I will get it wrong because I'm not into all this enough. But the kids were talking about something when we were eating. It was somebody just came in and said, hey, stop following this. And the person lost like 8 million followers or something in one day. And it was by no fault of their own. It's just because people are so fickle now, and they will just, you can be the biggest thing ever, and then you may do one thing wrong, or you may not do anything. It may just be everybody decides that you're not cool anymore. Maybe you don't produce the content they want, and they desert you. Now, that's more about fame, though, than about staying true to creating the art and things, which I think are two different things. There's her authenticity and what she will create and what she will do and what she brings to this world, and then there's, quote, success as the world would see it. Will she get that success, that people want her, that by doing what others want her to do. And I just wonder, it would be fascinating to know, would this have been different if Bob Dylan and Johnny Cash had been in this social media era, of YouTube and likes and all of that, because I even look at books and things and authors, because just like y'all love music, I love books, and I think about how much self-publishing and then just New York Times list and how everything's fabricated or not fabricated, but
oh, it
there's
is.
a whole
you pay
system
your
to it.
way on.
Yeah, on so many
all
things.
These things.
Yeah,
yes.
and so many things now. And so you just wonder, in some ways, is it even harder now? I don't know. I'm sure it was always hard, though, to go against what everybody else is saying to do. But it just does make me wonder, as we've changed as a society and as social media and the, quote, likes or hearts or whatever you're giving people are so important now, it just seems like there's even less and less of an opportunity for people to do that. Because I think also if they create certain content, they're going to feel like they have to keep creating that exact same thing. That's their secret sauce and they can't change it, and how many people would be brave enough to risk losing all those followers or the income or all of that.
Yeah. It's I don't know.
But it's really cool because I'm glad, though, that she's had this realization now, because she's only one semester into school. And one of the things that's interesting about that, too, is I've been asking her, I'm trying to fathom and understand how they grade. Because, they'll have these short films, and one person will do a horror film, and Maria will do a film, the one she did, for example, about a mother-daughter relationship, and somebody else will do a comedy. Those are so different. How do you even grade it? And what are you grading on? Are you grading on, the story? Are you grading on cinematography? Are you grading on the editing? How are they grading, and how do you grade, quote, grade art? I'm sure there's certain techniques you follow. There's certain things you're true to, but I just think that it's an interesting thing to think about, so early in her life and in this pursuing this art. What is going to matter? How will she be true to herself?
Right.
And how do you balance that with, there's also, though, techniques and things you need to learn from other people. You also can't just go into the world and be like, I know it all. As a teenager, she can't just go in and be like, well, I know everything. I don't need any of this other expertise, because there are things that you can learn from wisdom other people have.
Well, and even in this movie, there's a time when Bob, there's a black guitarist that is playing, and Bob's standing there watching him, and then he goes and sits down, and he was like, how did you play that? And this is well into the movie. Bob's already a massive star at this point, but he's still wanting to learn. How did you do that?
Right.
I want to be able to learn how to play like that. And so you take that, but then
you absorb some of it, but you make it your own.
Yeah.
Which I think you do even when you're not an artist, because I remember early in my career, I remember being in the law firm, as a summer student, and I would write down almost the exact way, this attorney, this is exactly what they say at this point in the mediation, or if they're preparing for trial, this is what they do, and this is how they say they do it. And I would write it down this is the right way, obviously, because they're successful. But then what you learn, to your point, is you learn their techniques, but then you have to overlay that with your own personality and your own style. And so sometimes I might learn a technique and use it in certain situations, but I would be doing it in a way that was more true to who I am.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get to see the movie.
I hope I do.
She wants to go see it again.
Well, good. I'll go see it with her this time.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're almost at the end, and so we've saved this to the end. The great plant debate of 2025.
Well, we remodeled a little bit back here, so...
A little bit. I'll put up a new picture, but I put a picture up.
It's not done yet.
I took a picture the beginning of 2024 of a few plants Beth had gotten and put in the corner of our sunroom. And then I put up a picture of the end of the year. And it looks like a jungle in our room.
Well, okay, part of it, but let me, just in defense of me, a few things.
You don't have to defend you because everyone else on Facebook did.
Well, I was just going to say, but some of these relate to Maria's plants because she moved to Disney and then she moved back and then she moved to a dorm. Like all those over there on that little table.
All 4 of them.
Well, also this plant behind you, that tree, that was something Maria purchased but also my mom has a very green thumb and is excellent with plants. And I'm only good, unfortunately.
Your dad has green toes.
What? Well, I was just going to say, unfortunately, for some of the people who want these, I have a very, specific skill set right now, and that seems to be plants that thrive with a lot of light. And so when people have low light conditions, if you go to the rest of our house, I've not been as successful. But I used to kill plants all the time, and I joked that I just exposed them to drought and floods. But I also didn't know what I was doing. I would just get a plant and be like, oh, why isn't it living? I've watered it a lot, or now it's dry. But I didn't pay attention to, what type of soil does it need? What does it need as far as light? Like, does it need a lot of direct light, or does it just need some light that's indirect, or does it need low light? Well, that actually makes a difference because, now I've planted a lot of plants out here that thrive with all the sun that this room gets, but also so many of these plants are plants that you can take cuttings and just start new plants. And so my other thing is now I've got so many, I can't put them anywhere anymore. I want to start to be able to take some of these cuttings and give them to other people. But I just did
a really rough count. In the sunroom alone, we have over 40 plants.
That seems like it's excessive. I don't
know.
Yes, sure
it is excessive.
No,
and this is not
like
a massive room.
Wrong. Maybe you are right. I don't know, but.
And let's dial this back. Let's talk about this sunroom because it started out when we bought this house 15 years ago. It was a screened-in back porch.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it stayed a screened-in back porch until 2020.
Yes.
And then
we all know what happens
down,
then. Yeah.
But you still had to work.
Yeah.
But all 3 kids were here doing school. And you were like, I am going to go crazy. I've got to have a place where I can work.
Yes.
So screened-in porches are good in theory, but you've got to constantly clean those things.
Especially here with the pollen in the spring with all the pollen.
Well, and then the heat. I mean, there's just a lot.
Because it gets so hot in the summer. It's too cold in the winter. Yeah.
So we didn't really use the screen-in porch as much as we would have in other parts of the country probably. So I said, look, let's close this thing in. Let's do a sunroom.
Yes.
And you were all for it.
Yes.
So we had a company come in, local, and they did an amazing job.
Yes.
Closed this beast in. It's wanted heat, air, everything. I mean, it's great now. And this was your office.
Yes.
And then you were like, well, maybe I should put some exercise equipment in here because sometimes it's too hot to run or it's too cold to run. And so we got you,
exercise bike.
A bike. Not a pellet. Not a, what are those?
Peloton.
Yeah, not a Peloton. Not that kind. It's a Pro Form. Yeah. So it's a little bit lesser, but it's still the same thing with a screen on it. Yes. You can ride and that kind of stuff. And that was okay.
Yeah.
And then you were like, I think I want to add some plants.
So I can breathe better, as everyone pointed out.
Everybody. I've been back here. We're doing this in the sunroom in the middle of all these plants.
And think about how good we feel. Very oxygenated.
I don't feel any different at all. In fact, my allergies may be worse.
No, they're not. That's all in your head because you have like a negative bias now towards the plants. And so it's all psychological with you.
I don't mind the plants.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I mind. When you go on one of your mini trips,
yes,
Mike, I need you to water all the plants.
But I only need that like one time a week. I try to make sure that I water them.
And that's a lot of stress because I'm like, I don't know how much water these things need. So now your hobby becomes my hobby. Or today.
Okay, time out. Let's not talk about then cats that we've adopted or animal. Like
we're saving
we're not
lives.
we're not opening that door of like the responsibilities that we take on behalf of other
stand
people's
over
hobbies.
there that you ordered from China that came in literally
like 100 pieces.
At least 100 pieces.
Yeah, it truly was. It's like slap
and it's
by
the
slap.
second one I've put together in here.
Yes, because I needed. That's why we remodeled a little because we took down the tree, and so I needed another plant stand because everything just looks so cluttered. Like the picture really showed me how cluttered.
And this whole thing is now in your background. So people who watch you on Zoom,
yes,
they're just going to assume you have a plant green screen.
They are. Yeah, they're not going to think it's real.
They're not going to think it's real.
Yeah, and
it looks like you're doing it from the middle of the Amazon.
And you know what's sad? I put all those plants on it because it'll hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like at least like probably 6 or 8. It doesn't even look like any plants are gone. All it did was my little coffee table. And now I have room to put a coffee cup on it because the coffee table became just a place to house plants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look good.
Yeah.
They look healthy.
They make me happy.
And if they make you happy, it makes us happy.
Thanks.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yes.
So.
Well, and it's bringing life. It's just really cool to watch. I think the thing for me is like I look at them too and I remember, oh, my mom gave this to me. Or like I took that tree that is behind you. It's literally becoming a tree. Maria bought it and it was like 12 inches tall. She'd gotten it at like, I don't know, Lowe's or somewhere. And it was just tiny. And now, I mean, how tall is it?
It's big.
Yeah, I mean, so like just watching it.
At least 13 inches tall.
Stop it. But like watching it thrive and grow. And then this plant over here, I forget what it's called. It's an African, it's a succulent, but African cactus type thing. My grandma had one of those because I remember when I was a kid, if you pull the little leaves off, like this white milky substance will run out of it. And I know, not that I do that now to it, but when I was a kid, I was fascinated by that plant. And so they also just like carry, like, I guess.
How many Christmas cactuses do you have? I'm sitting there looking around this room now.
Well, I have
at least 4.
4 in here and 1 in the living room. But that's because we took pieces and cuttings and started something. And then I have all the succulents and the jade that now. And one of my favorites is that pink and green one. I forget the name of it, but it's a hybrid. And it's one that when you were going to the record store with Josh, I wandered over to this little plant shop and just started talking to the lady that was in there and bought it. And again, it was tiny. It was like 2 pieces. And now that's in at least 3 or 4 pots, different pots.
I'm not even sure that plant shop's even there anymore.
Oh, that would break my heart because they had some really unique plants.
I think they got busted for drugs.
They did not.
The place smelled like weed.
I don't, but nobody busts anybody for weed anyway. And then I got this cool plant that like, like kind of closes and opens in the different times or whatever. I don't know. So they're really neat and it's just fun to watch them. I wish I could expand this. I'm going to try my hand. I will try some low light because I know some people specially requested that I try that. I've been working on it. I don't have it down yet, but as I get those plants to thrive, once I get the special, like whatever my strategy is for them, I will be sure to share some of those. And who knows, maybe one day I'll even be good with outdoor plants. But that just seems next level.
Well, nobody had my side. I posted this on our Facebook page, the Hey Are You Still There Facebook page, which now has several hundred followers, which is crazy.
Yes.
Like people we don't even know, which is kind of neat. We added another country to our list, Indonesia.
Ooh.
Did you know that? Did I tell you that?
No.
Yeah, Indonesia. So we have some listeners
Maybe
there.
we can go. I wish some advertiser would come in and be like, we need to send you to all the countries where you have listeners so that you can meet them in person.
And I was looking at our cities breakdown. Our top 5 are all in North Carolina. That's not a surprise.
Yeah.
But number 6 is San Francisco.
Which is so strange because I've got friends all over the U.S. and you do too, but not San Francisco. I mean, that's so surprising. So if you're listening and you're in San Francisco or Indonesia or one of these other places, we'd love it if you would send us a note because now we're just as fascinated by you as you are by us.
Yeah. Like, how bored are you that you're listening to this?
To us, I know. Well, we've exceeded the 10 people that I thought we would have. You know, my mom, your mom, my dad, your dad. Yeah.
And to give a quick update, anyway, I was talking about what was that? You broke my train of thought.
I'm sorry,
we were
you
talking
talked
about
about the plants, then you talked about the
Facebook
countries.
page. We were going to do something on the Facebook page. Oh, I know, that's how I did. I posted it on our Facebook page, and then I shared it on my personal page.
Oh, the plants.
And that's when it blew up. We had, I don't even know how many, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of comments.
Yeah.
And everybody took your side.
Yes.
Everybody.
That's one thing. This has been very life-affirming for me.
The men were just like, give it up, Mike.
Yeah.
You're not going to win this one.
That's been the best thing that's come out of this podcast, I think, is like just the listeners being on my side. It just goes to show when I've told you that I'm pretty much always right that I am.
And I wasn't even as anti-plant as I was anti-Christmas card.
Oh.
I mean, I was just putting up a picture. I said how it started, how it ended.
Yeah, and then
everybody just started piling on. I mean, I didn't even post an opinion, I don't think.
Yes. Well.
So, and speaking of Christmas cards, I counted. We ended up with 32 Christmas cards this year.
So less cards than I have plants.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we can exceed that next
year. Guess how many of them Christmas cards I threw in the trash?
I don't want to know.
31.
No. Okay, let me just say that would be you doing that, not me. I'm like
31 out of the 32 cards went in the trash.
Okay.
I kept one. Do you know which one I kept?
The one that was handmade. Yes.
Yes, by the Cashins.
Yes.
The handmade card that I will now keep forever as it keeps. If I had a scrapbook, I would put it in a scrapbook.
Scrapbook.
I mean, it was. You could tell it was done with love.
Mm-hmm.
His grandma, Ross's grandma, even helped out.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That just shows too how we're crossing generational lines. You know, like everyone. And I don't know. Does Grandma listen to us though?
I'm sure she does. She's probably the one in San Francisco.
Maybe.
But she has like a fake VPN or whatever.
And so
But yeah, so.
Well, they need to respond to our poll question that you've got to think about how to word it in a way that they understand it. But about the text messages.
Yeah, how do you text?
I wish there's
a way. Are you a one-liner or a...
But if people comment, do you know what I think we're going to find out? I think that younger people are the one-liners.
I thought it was going to be men and women.
No, I feel like it's a generational thing. I feel like none of the kids text a lot.
Old women put up these huge blurbs.
Excuse me, time out. We're going to back up. I take offense at old women because I know that you are casting me in that demographic.
And I mean, when I say old, I should say older women.
Yeah,
we're going to say
change your language.
40 and older. How's that?
Because that is not old.
I think 40 and older.
Legally, Age Discrimination and Employment Act decided that 40 years old was so old that you need to be protected from discrimination and puts a lot of extra protections in there if you have to get a severance agreement or anything. So obviously, someone in the government agrees with you, that at 40, you're old enough that you need these additional protections.
So I think women over the age of 40 have word vomit when it comes to text. And young people and dudes just text. Young people don't even text back. And guys will just text back, yeah, okay,
well, I wouldn't have to text so much, though, if people responded promptly to what I sent. Therefore, like, that they bring it on themselves. So if I asked questions and I knew that they would answer them and it wouldn't go into the abyss, you know, then
My problem is
that would
I'm
be-
sometimes driving and you send me these massive texts and I glance down and I'm like, there's no way I
Your
could
phone
even
can
come
read it to
close to this.
Your phone can read it to you, and then
It
you can
can't.
respond by voice
It
dictation.
can't. No.
Yes, it can. Your
I
phone
don't
is
have
smart enough.
Siri
for that.
turned on.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
I
we're
don't
not
trust
even.
the government. I don't trust.
It's not the government. Did you see that Apple's settling?
I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I don't trust people. I don't trust machines. I
We've
don't
known
trust
that
companies.
they've been listening to us forever.
I do not have Siri on my phone turned on.
I need one of my former coworkers, Ryan, to listen to this because years ago, it was one of the times when, I don't know, we were talking about something and he would sometimes sit in my office and I had these really bad ceiling tiles and he would like stare at them while I was talking. But I went on this whole thing about the phone listening to me and I told him all the reasons why. And he was like, no, it's some type of algorithm. And I was like, absolutely not, because that targeted ad that I got after the phone listened to me. But this was years ago. So people weren't talking about it. So the funny thing is, you know, like during COVID for lawyers, there was some things like even some, like it wasn't bar opinions, but some lawyers wrote about confidentiality, like with all the devices in your home now listening, would that be a problem? And so I sent those to him. Well, today I sent a screenshot of that and basically like the whole thing about the Apple the settlement. I sent the screenshot and I said, I just needed to say again, I told you. And he responded, ha, you were right. That's crazy. So I would like for the record to reflect that I don't forget when I'm right, and I will carry this with me for years and years.
And you don't forget when I'm wrong.
No, I don't. But you're wrong so often. It's a lot to carry around.
Yes.
All the times that I'm right and all the times that you're wrong. So, but anyway, that's just my fun thing. Like when I'm like, I called that. Like I don't know how many years ago I knew that. But anyway, I do remember one of my friends in IT, John. He was one of the first people I worked with that did IT security when I came to the hospital in like 2006. And I remember even back then I was talking to him about something like, oh, my privacy, or I'm worried about my privacy online. And he was like, you have no privacy any longer. And that was before even things are like they are.
You know who has privacy?
Who?
Our friend George South.
Oh, why?
Because George still carries that flip phone.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't
George
listen to you.
South has a flip phone.
Yes.
And he checks his email at the library computer.
Okay, you're right. He does have privacy. He does. That may be, but even then, if he has a Gmail account, they're probably somehow harvesting that for information. But he definitely has much more privacy than the rest of us. So that he would probably be the person if somebody wants a role model. You know, we talk about like passing down that wisdom and stuff. We can put you in contact with George South if you want to learn more of the ways of continuing to have what little privacy we can have in this digital world that we live in. Yeah.
We should have him on the podcast.
That'd be fun.
Oh my gosh.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Amazing.
It would be. Yeah.
Well, you started us off. We're a shade under an hour, so we're doing good. You want to sign us off?
I don't remember how we sign off.
Well, I mean, you can remind people about our website and Facebook pages and
yes.
tell your friends. You know,
yes.
the typical
we
stuff.
have a Facebook page now, and you can listen to us on Apple and Spotify and other listening things that I can't remember all of them right now. And you should share these podcast episodes, and you should definitely vote in our polls. And if you are listening and we don't know you, I would just love to know more about the people. I mean, I would like to know more about the people who listen that we do know. I feel like, but some of them tell us, like, you know, that they listen. But that is also, that I do have to say, that's been a surprising thing. That's a fun thing, is like the people that surprise me that listen. Mm-hmm. And then I think we feel more connected because we'll talk about something we talked about on here. So that's what we're doing. We're just connecting people all over the world. That'll be our advertisement. Yes, that's us. Yeah, just doing our little bit to connect people that otherwise might not be connected. That's what this podcast does. Definitely connect people, not cause any type of arguments or anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. All by asking the simple question.
Hey, are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Until next week.
See you
ya.
then.